Welcome to the Parallel Universe. Here's your host, Glenn Goldberg.
Hello, everyone. This is Glenn Goldberg, Chief Executive Officer with Parallel Communications Group. I'd like to welcome you to the next version of the Parallel Universe, where we talk to the movers and shakers in the business technology space. So today, I'm very pleased to talk to an old friend, a client, someone that I learned a great deal about, Allan Rihm. You may know Alan from his days at CoreDial as CEO and helping pave the path in cloud communications. And we're fortunate to have Alan with us today. Alan, welcome to the Parallel Universe.
Hey, Glenn, great to talk to you as always.
It's our pleasure. So you've started in the technology space, working in sales, entry-level sales, working up to owning a couple of companies. Certainly, you know the entrepreneurial space, running a company from management. So it'd take probably 5 episodes for us to go through your whole path and your journey. But I thought the audience would know maybe some of the takeaways you've learned that have been more transformational in your journey that triggered a light and go, yeah, that's something we can do in terms of management or delivering something valuable to the client.
Yeah, sure. So I guess just to take you back to, my first job out of college and why, it's relevant because I think it was pretty transformative for me. I didn't realize it at the time. And I promise for the listeners, I did have a big curly head of hair back then. This entrepreneurial thing got rid of it.
That was not a requirement for you to be a guest on this
Yeah,
show,
right.
by the way.
Um, Yeah, so my first job out of college was Xerox. And, while it wasn't, the technology that got me interested, it was the brand and what they stood for. What they stood for was some of the best sales training, period, at the time, maybe even still today. And, you know, so I got in, I learned, I went through their training program called Spin, and it was a lot of work, a lot of role playing, and I had to go in, into the demo room and memorize these 3-page scripts and read them to my boss verbatim and every week. And I remember hating it and dreading it. And I ultimately left and got into computers, but the reason I mentioned that story is because that's something I lean on all the time. While I was in the middle of it, I didn't really appreciate what was happening. But now as I look back, it was some of the best training I've ever received. And it helped me to be a selling CEO, somebody who understood and respected what it means to market and sell. And so I think the big lesson there is, you know, as early in your career as you can, get as much training as you can, especially sales if you can, because everybody in the company's in sales. Like if you're into entrepreneurship, everybody needs to be in sales. Everybody needs to know who are you, what do you do, what type of customer, anyway. But yeah, that was one of the most impactful things. Then I went on to computers and I got IBM training, so I got more training. But yeah, that Xerox Spin training, while painful, was life-changing.
So do you think that raises an interesting question in my mind? Do you think that art of sales is kind of lost, where it's just maybe a numbers game and maybe looking at things from the perspective of the customer? Is that something the industry has kind of shifted away from?
Um, it's funny because I'm biased because I deeply appreciate it, right? Every company, I've run 4 companies now, 5 companies over the last 31 years. And so I deeply appreciate it. But yes, I do see a lot of people that don't really understand how to, create a scalable, repeatable machine in sales and marketing, right? And
Hmm.
how to appreciate the need for clarity is what's your process, what's your methodologies, or is your method spin selling? Is it the challenger sale? Is it something else? And if you see salespeople that kind of show up and throw up, or they get an objection and they immediately start selling, where they really should start asking questions and digging into why the objection exists and what the customer needs. Like, yeah, and that stuff I know that people give it a lot of lip service, but I do feel like, a lot of companies have a lot of room for improvement in those areas.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. So let's use that in sales now and looking at the customer. Let's fast forward where we are now in the cloud space. So CoreDial was early on, in terms of cloud communications. Company was very successful. And now the cloud is everywhere. Now you have behemoths like Google, AWS, you have Microsoft. Everyone's got it. It's really the backbone of business. It's really kind of the evil empire in a way, in terms of innovation. Um, Nimble companies like CoreDial, not just with technology, but selling and marketing. Do you see the cloud environment now is becoming maybe a little too commoditized, where innovation is stifled, or do you see it still kind of evolving?
I think it's a really pointed question, a really good question in that, to answer that question, then you go back to '05 when I started CoreDial. I think that it's a little stale at the moment.
Yeah.
There are areas to focus on. Specifically, I think the innovations today are around it's not around, voice, video collaboration, message. Everybody has that stuff, right? And the leaders have one, right? Your Microsofts, your Zooms, and so forth have one. I think it's about how do you deploy these technologies to specific vertical applications, and then maybe build apps on top of it, apps that really deliver value to the customer. So like whether you're calling on dentist offices or car dealers or retailers or software companies, like, to me, if I'm recommending to my fellow, cloud communication entrepreneurs, it's, find your niche, find, and not just a niche, but find a slice of business that you can be the best at. And then you
Mhm.
can wrap some products and services around it. And then people could try to lead with price, they won't win. They could try to lead with technology, they won't win. Like you'll win because your customers will appreciate how much you know about their business. And so just to go back to, '05 when I met my co-founder Bill Hamill, and he was kind of funny story. He was, when my accountant was his accountant, and he was having some difficulties, and I had a deep background in ISPs and ASPs back in '95, and it was part of a roll-up strategy that became Vario. And he said, "Hey, could you go meet with Bill? Maybe you could help him out." So we met. We really liked each other, and I was able to help him with some of his problems, and we decided to launch this business together. And by the way, it was funny because I remember sitting with him the first time, and I said, "Hey, Bill, where's the backup server?" Because he had like 75, maybe 5 or 10 customers and like however many seats. One customer like 75 seats and a single seat in Bermuda. Like he would sell anything to anybody that smelled like VoIP. It was great. It was like he was proving the concept. And I said,
Right.
"What's your backup server?" He goes, "Over there." I go, "Bill, that's a server unplugged on a box." He goes, "I can get it running really fast." I said, "We can't do that, Bill." Anyway, we got into the data center, got redundant and all that. In those days, what you just said, this question you led with was, it's competitive, it's commoditized. It was like that in '05.
Okay.
If you remember in '05, it was like, I think people thought I was stupid to get into the business. And I'm like, I just feel like I can compete and win. I could find an angle, and we found the channel. Channel was our angle. And then it went through these crazy cycles. Like all of a sudden, things like Zoom pop up or Teams, and they didn't exist back then, or certainly not as widely known as they are today.
Right.
So I think the market's slightly stale right now. Like they're kind of limping along, and trying to find their way. So, but I do think there's innovations, AI for the contact center, of course, and but you know vertical applications and salute products and services that wrapped around that is my recommendation.
Well, you said the magic words AI. Okay. Now, so you're also, investing in businesses and helping nurture businesses. So AI, now is the problem I've always seen in the technology space. There are a lot of lemmings. They just want to jump into the front of the parade. It's like I've got quantum computing, I'm AI. I've got chatbot, I'm AI.
Right.
And that's kind of where we are now, I see, just looking around the space. Now I'm adjacent to this space. I'm not in the middle of it. But what do you see in terms of AI, and definitely from the perspective of an investor? Are they getting overwhelmed?
Yeah. So when I had my investor hat on, and it's really kind of fun to have been an entrepreneur my entire, business life after, working for other companies, for 30 years and now being on the other side and being an investor as well. Everybody slaps AI into their name or their description of their company. And it does get a bit annoying, especially if it's not real.
Hmm.
Or if the application of AI isn't really useful or unique. I mean, maybe it's always useful, but um, yeah, listen, I think this is one of the biggest, most transformative technologies in this we're going to see in our lifetime. It's weird that it's being created by the biggest companies, and innovation is happening at the biggest companies, and so it's
Yeah.
hard for people to keep pace with them, right? So so I think that there's tremendous opportunities to find ways where AI can be a tool in a problem or an efficiency you're trying to create. You always have to ask yourself the question, if when I do this, are the big guys just going to do it with, just deploy hundreds of thousands of coders and get it done,
Yeah.
in a few weeks or a few months. So again, so yeah, I think it's really valuable. There's lots more innovation. Um, and it's almost like the days of, when the web browser happened, when Netscape and all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's almost like a new interface.
Everything shifted.
Yeah, AI existed before ChatGPT and all, but
Right.
it wasn't accessible to the average person. And now it is. And it's like every week, every day almost that you hear some new innovation, something new happens, a new model, it's faster, it's better, it's cheaper. By the way, I saw an NVIDIA presentation where they talked about this is like the fastest reduction in cost in the usage of this stuff, like almost ever. So they're driving down the cost of.
Yeah, the scale is getting a lot
Yeah,
better. Yeah.
it's so anyway, so this is fast paced. You have to be careful. It is going to be valuable, disruptive, and everything in between. But yeah, so I'm a big believer. I love this stuff. Um, but you do have to, just realize that if you're not OpenAI or Google or Amazon or Microsoft or whoever, you don't have their resources. So if you're going to use it, do it in a interesting, novel way, and not a way that they're just going to end up doing themselves anyway.
Fair enough. So we have automation in AI, but on the other hand, you still have business culture, company culture, and preserving that. I mean, one of the things I always admired about CoreDial was the culture that you had. It seemed like everyone
Thank
pulled
you.
together as a team.
Yeah,
Very difficult to do. Certainly, in COVID, I was working with you when COVID happened and things just immediately shifted.
yeah.
So, what, in your mind, what is the importance of creating and nurturing that culture?
I mean, I think me. I find it to be of the utmost importance. I mean, most of the, how many times you see a CEO, he or she's up on a stage winning an award or doing a talk, and they'll say, "Yo, it's all about the team. Culture's so important." And then they get off the stage, you're like, "Well, what are you doing about that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's Sally or Billy over in HR." It's like, that's not it. You're the CEO. You lead culture. You set the tone for culture. It's not, you don't lob that over to HR. So we launched a platform called The Best Answer. We're Full Forward is a venture studio, and we launched this platform called The Best Answer. And we did integrate AI to help in a lot of ways. Like, and there's so many things that go into strong culture. So anyway, so my answer to the question is it's wicked important. It helped CoreDial outkick its coverage. There was times where, we struggled as a company, as maybe our technology struggled or whatever. We had this really innovative channel portal and application. But there were some times where our call control was okay, and this and that. Our culture and our team made the technology, made everything better. Like
Mhm.
we we create, and by the way, culture isn't beer trucks and happy hour. I mean, those things are kind of like, yeah, they're fun and they're great, and but it's everything from being able to communicate what is your culture, what are your values, having a culture team, and by the way, it's not expensive, it's not difficult to do. Identifying, 3 to 5 to 7 people who just ooze your values and your culture and asking them to help you out as CEO. One will be HR, of course, you want HR involved because they're wickedly valuable, but they can't do all the other things. And so I'm droning on, but it's so important. I think CEOs should take it more seriously than they do. They should, think of it as, as something that can help them, achieve their audacious goals, right?
Yeah, help
And
them win.
yeah, and you want to get people, people trade their time for money, right?
Mhm.
That's what most of us
Yeah.
do. And don't you want them saying, I can't wait to get to work. And by the way, I know what I do at work, I know how it contributes to the goals and objectives of the company. And so yeah, anyway, I could talk for a very long time on
No, it's good. So it leads me to pivot to the next question with culture. You're working on a new project. So without giving away the farm, tell us about it. And when will
yeah,
we see
so
Alan Rihm at a trade show near you?
yeah, yeah, we're super excited about this next one. But again, the first one, or the last one we released is called The Best Answer. So
Right.
thebestanswer.com. Highly recommend people check it out. It's our vision of
And we'll
what.
put the link up as well.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I mean, it's our vision. Listen, our focus is we don't look to make things, complex. We want to make it easy to learn, easy to use, and very easily justifiable. That we don't like people who, nickel and dime you to death in license fees. So you'll find it very easy and simple, and but yet very, very powerful. So that's the best answer. Um, this next one is in the sales and marketing space, which, as we talked about earlier on, is an area that I find deeply interesting. And I find it deeply, it's the tip of the spear for every company. And so we're in stealth mode, but it'll come out soon. So just, keep an eye at Fall Forward and my LinkedIn and all that stuff. But it's in the sales and marketing. And the problem we're solving is that everybody has their CRM, their marketing automation, but then they have their team, and then there's all this. They lack the connective tissue that brings it all together and creates a scalable, repeatable machine, and helps you attract and not only attract talent, but mobilize them. And instead of having like hire 3 people to keep one because you're not organized, you don't train people right, you don't know how to communicate. What's your customer persona? What's your value proposition? What's your elevator pitch, taxi ride, all that stuff, and all the operational aspects and competitive intel aspects, and then marketing. I'll stop here because as you can see, I roll on this stuff. In the marketing
It's
area,
okay.
I find marketing, the way I talk about it these days is it's basically purposeful experimentation, right? I mean, marketing is so important, but everybody struggles with, how to deploy their marketing dollars in
Yeah.
a most effective way.
Yeah.
But the truth of it is, it's always experimentation. Like nobody
Yeah.
shows up and says, "Oh, I know how to market this exactly."
As a marketer, I know this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to solve that problem too. So this platform's all around those things and adding
Okay.
real value to those and making sure those organizations work together.
And when do you anticipate bringing this platform to market?
January. Yeah, we're in
Well,
beta right now.
we'll be live then, so that'll be good. We'll
There you
definitely
go.
want
Yeah,
to do an update.
yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Now you're a Philadelphia native, so I know you've got to be pretty happy. I know you're a big Eagles fan.
Go Birds.
Yes. I'm a Jets fan, so thank you for
I'm
sending
sorry
Joe
to hear
Douglas.
that.
Yes, thank you for sending Joe Douglas our way. But you guys are beating the Giants. I have a lot of friends who are Giants fans, but they'll have to deal with it. So will we see the Birds back in the Super Bowl?
Listen, Glenn, I was blown away the last game. The announcers were talking about, it was Baltimore, and they were talking about, oh, this might be a rematch. These guys might meet again in the Super Bowl. I'm like, nobody talks about Philly that way. We never
Yeah,
get that credit. We're never in that conversation. So I'm not that person who's like, oh my God, we're gonna go.
yeah.
Listen, we got some talent. As long as we still stay healthy, we have a chance.
Well, talent is you definitely talent is the operative word. You got business talent, your football team's doing well. So Alan, it's always great to connect. We're real excited to see what comes out after the first of the year. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, should they reach you on LinkedIn or
Yes,
how would
please.
you
Yep.
prefer? Okay,
Or either go to fallforward.com.
okay.
You see that? And or
Yeah.
go to LinkedIn. And but yeah, thanks, Glenn. Always a pleasure.
No, look forward to it. Alan, thanks again. Appreciate your time and your insights, and we'll talk soon.